Welcome to this episode of Read Woke with the Cedar Rapids Public Library. Today, we're featuring a relatively new entry on the National Register of Historic Places, the home of Dr. Percy and Lileah Harris. The Harrises were respected community members, leaders, advocates for the arts, education, and for civil rights. No longer quite so shaded due to the derecho, the Harris residence sits slightly up a hill on the southeast side of Cedar Rapids and the neighborhood called Indian Creek Hills. The building is remarkable in and of itself to have been a home where 12 children were raised, but the story of how the Harris family acquired the land and how they were able to build their home is a piece of Cedar Rapids civil rights history. Percy Harris overcame many adversities in his young life before moving to Waterloo, Iowa, where he and Evelyn Lileah Ferguson met, and they were then married in 1950. The couple then moved to Washington, D.C. so that Dr. Harris could attend Howard University. Their life in Cedar Rapids began in 1957 when Dr. Harris accepted an internship at St. Luke's Hospital. Upon their arrival, they were met with the difficulty of finding housing for their growing family. As documented in this 1959 issue of Jet magazine, Negro medic can't find place to live in Iowa town. The first Negro physician to practice in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in almost 30 years was having trouble finding a place to live. A native of Durant, Mississippi, who attended Iowa schools, Dr. Percy Gene Harris, 31, his wife and 6 children were temporarily living in a home owned by St. Luke's Methodist Hospital, but the hospital needs the house for a new class of interns, which Dr. Harris is scheduled to train. Dr. Harris, who said some real estate men refused to show him houses, added that dealers say it would lower property values. He added, "I'd like to check and see if the city lowers taxes after a Negro moves in." And here is where the story of the house in Indian Creek Hills begins. Enter Robert Armstrong, the same Armstrong of the department store in downtown Cedar Rapids. Upon Armstrong's death in 1990, the Gazette wrote this: Armstrong's determination was never more evident than in the late 1950s when he helped Harris and his wife Lileah, who were black, look for a home. Armstrong personally accompanied Harris in the search. "It astounded me to find that people wouldn't sell to a black," Armstrong said in an interview several years ago. So, just what did Robert Armstrong do to ensure that the Harris family could find a permanent home in Cedar Rapids? Armstrong had donated land near his home to St. Paul's Methodist Church to use as they see fit to benefit the church community. When Armstrong saw that the Harris family was being discriminated against, he suggested that the church sell a parcel of land and a neighborhood of white residents to the Harris family. This was met with opposition, specifically from neighbor Jack Hatt, who happened to live across the street. What ensued was a church conference in 1961 to discuss the issue. Armstrong opened the proceedings as such. "We have always gone forward in the spirit of brotherhood, and I believe that the same thing will characterize our meeting tonight. This is a hot issue, and it's a hot issue not because of Dr. Percy Harris, a Negro who would like to buy a lot, or because this is St. Paul's Church, but it is a hot issue because it is a world issue. There is a world issue today, and that world issue is whether there are second-rate people in the world, whether the white race is a supreme race, and whether men or women are entitled to a life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness regardless of their race, color, or creed. And this is the reason that we can't dodge this issue." Well, dodge they did, skirting around the issue of race as much as possible and discussing property value instead. But the members of the church voted 460 to 291 to sell the land to the Harris family. This time, the Harris family made national news for a victory. From Jet magazine in 1961, Iowa pastor wins fight to sell Negro a lot. After an intense and bitter debate, members of Iowa's largest Methodist church, St. Paul's in Cedar Rapids, voted 460 to 291 to sell a church-owned lot to Lynn County Medical Examiner Dr. Percy Harris. The Negro doctor plans to build a 5-bedroom house for his family of 7 children in the exclusive Indian Hills Creek area. The fight to sell Dr. Harris the property, valued at $7,500, was led by the Reverend Dr. Jackson Burns and businessman Robert C. Armstrong, whose family donated the lot adjoining his palatial home to the church. A community committee opposing the sale asked if it were Christian to help one family to hurt others so much, allegedly by causing property values to drop $300,000. Publicly, the Harris family seemed never to look back, taking every opportunity to enrich the community in which they lived, always creating positive experiences and leading the way. In 1976, Ebony magazine did a story about the African American doctors in Cedar Rapids, where it was noted that the problems in Cedar Rapids were not entirely insurmountable. This is much due to Dr. and Lileah Harris's leadership in the community. In 1985, Dr. Harris told the Gazette about his experience of discrimination in housing. Harris looks back at that experience and similar ones without rancor. There are no lasting scars from discrimination. I suppose I have some negative feelings about it, but I'm not bitter. That was all 100 years ago. Besides, no one should live their lives based on bitterness. Just dealing with life on a day-to-day basis and giving some thought to preparation for tomorrow is a challenge enough. You shouldn't burden yourself with the past. Although it is easier said than done, I suspect that this attitude is what kept Dr. Harris on a trajectory forward, improving our community all along the way. The Harris family grew to 14 members over the years, and while raising 12 children, both Dr. and Mrs. Harris continued to go above and beyond to support the Cedar Rapids community. Among their contributions, Dr. Harris served as the Lynn County Medical Examiner for nearly 4 decades, was president of the medical staff of St. Luke's Hospital, served on the board of numerous community organizations, was president of the Cedar Rapids chapter of the NAACP, served 2 terms as a member of the Iowa Board of Regents, was an entrepreneur, and still found time to be the team physician for several Cedar Rapids sports teams. His accomplishments are nearly innumerable. Lileah was a painter, poet, pianist, singer, and advocate for lifelong learning, having earned her degree in Russian from the University of Iowa at the age of 62. She was active in her church, the Washington High School PTA, and served on both the Jane Boyd Community Center Board and the Cedar Rapids Human Rights Commission. She was also an exceptional mother. The house on Beaver Avenue is just part of the history of the Harris family. The Harris family story continues today. In 2019, the Dr. Percy and Lileah Harris building was completed in Cedar Rapids. This building houses Lynn County Public Health and Lynn County Child and Youth Development Services, embodying the dedication that the Harris family has had to education and overall health. If you'd like to know more about the Harris family, I would suggest seeking out Life Narratives of African Americans in Iowa by Charlene J. Barnes, or A Healing Presence in Our Community, the Percy G. Harris family. Or I would suggest accessing the digital archives of the Cedar Rapids Public Library found on our website at crlibrary.org. Additionally, to hear the stories of the Harris family in their own words, you can find a YouTube video featuring the children of Dr. and Mrs. Harris on the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Read Woke. If you have any questions about the Read Woke Challenge, if you want a list of resources used for this program, or if you have any other questions, please call us at 319-261-READ or visit us at crlibrary.org.